On Monday, November 30th, Peter Juncker, a soft matter physicist, spoke on the physics of breakfast. He started out with saying, in order to make discoveries, you do not need fancy instruments, and that physics is all around us. He used coffee, eggs, and cereal to show this idea. What happens when coffee spills? It dries and leaves a ring around the edge. This is known as the coffee ring effect. This happens when any dissolved liquid spills and dries. Why does this happen? To study this, Juncker performed an experiment, modeling coffee with colloidal particles, which are very small solid spheres suspended in water. He dropped the solution on a slide and observed it dry. As it dried, the edges of the drop became darker and darker. This occurs because of surface tension. Molecules are attracted to each other, and the ones on the outside of the surface want to be surrounded by as many particles as they can. Surface tension minimizes surface area and allows the molecules to stick closely together. During evaporation, the edges of the drop are pinned and the diameter of the drop remains the same. As it dries, the fluid flows from the middle of the drop to the edges, making this darker effect. Why does water evaporate when heated, but liquid eggs do not? Why do they solidify? To understand this, he tested the solidity of the eggs with a universal testing machine and performed a creep test, which measures a force pushing down on an object. This test showed that eggs are elastic. Eggs are a protein suspension, meaning a liquid filled with proteins. Proteins are chains that have many different patches that are either hydrophobic or hydrophilic. So when they are in water, they fold into a new structure. The hydrophobic parts of the chain move into the inner part of the chain, while the hydrophilic parts of the chain stay on the outside, touching the water. Juncker described the structures like Velcro. When proteins are heated, the protein structures fall apart and denature. Juncker used the comparison of pulling apart Velcro. Different parts of the protein chain stick together and become an elastic gel of proteins when they denature, nothing like the original shape of the liquid eggs. Although Juncker stated he was not a chef, he gave some tips on how to make good eggs. He said to keep the temperature while you are cooking your eggs below boiling in order to avoid evaporating the water and having dry eggs for breakfast. Lastly, Juncker asked the question, why do Cheerios clump, even if there's only 2 left? Because Cheerios are less dense than milk, they want to sit as high as they can above the milk. Adhesion creates a meniscus, and Cheerios on the milk create their own meniscus. The Cheerios are attracted to each other because they want to get as high above the milk as possible, and so they move up the meniscus of the other piece of cereal. This is known as the Cheerios effect. This happens even for large amounts of cereal, and often occurs for other objects such as paper clips, which are much denser than Cheerios. Juncker then went into how these everyday physics ideas relate to larger scale problems, such as printers and malaria tests with the coffee ring effect. A malaria test dries and creates a ring around the edge to provide the results to the test. I really enjoyed this lecture because it showed sides of physics we do not get to experience in modern Physics 1. It really showed me the practicality of physics in everything and the overlap of different topics such as chemistry and biology.